alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.
Fellow citizens, following the sequence of events, Uganda seems to be at political crossroads.
I'm not a servant of anybody.
Madam, I know the law.
As such, Alternative Digital brings you the Interface Show with retired Colonel Dr. Kiza Besuje.
Let's keep on the same page on Alternative Digitalk,
As he gives you the alternatives on the transition question, rule of law, human rights and freedom, youth inclusion in governance, economic stagnation, as he confirms.
I'll be always here Saturday from 10 a.m. in the morning. Be there.
Don't miss the live discussion on the Alternative Uganda, Digitalk TV Facebook pages, and the Alternative Uganda YouTube channel.
Are you craving for that special meal that will entice your taste buds and leave you with lasting thrilling memories? Look no further. Spice Island Bulenga has got your answer. Natural, fresh and delicious juice, the best meals. Don't miss our daily specials from Monday to Sunday. Pizza Wednesday, Saturday Pizza Bonanza, you buy one and take two. Come dine with us and feel the experience. We are located at Prime Shopping Center in Bulenga, Mitiana Road. For inquiries, call us on 0704111720. Spice Island, we treat your cravings.
The Alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk. The Alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.
A very good evening, our viewers. We thank you once again for joining us this evening. It is yet another edition of the Hotline Show, actually being the very first in the year 2023. I want to wish all of you a happy new year, and of course, to thank you for all those who were able to sail through the year 2022. There were a number of things that happened in 2022. Many of our colleagues never made it to the new year 2023. But we thank the Almighty God that at least for those who were able to cross over to the new year, I want to say Happy New Year to all of you. Well, this is the Digitalk TV, and from wherever you're watching us from, we thank you for being part of the show. A number of things have been happening, and a lot happened in the year 2022. And of course, we need to do a spot catch of what transpired in the year 2022. So many things happened, especially within the political circles. One of the latest events that happened in that year, before we crossed over, was the opposition prayer, the joint opposition which was meant to take place at Nsambia Shearing Hall, and that was on 31st, I think. Yes, and then there was a very, very heavy deployment of different security organs, and that event, that prayer, never happened. Of course, we also, it's in that year that we witnessed the coffee deal. When we talk about the coffee deal, there was a lot of undertones within that entire deal. Not until when the president, the Fountain of Honor, at one event which was at Kololo grounds, he was like, things to do with the coffee deal, I am the man behind. But of course, Parliament for one time, for only that time, they spoke one voice and they're like, no, we are trashing the entire coffee deal. That is the Vinci Pinet deal. And of course, we also witnessed the impeachment of Mityana Municipality Member of Parliament, Honorable Zake, from that position who was holding in Parliament, in the Parliamentary Leadership Administration as the Commissioner of Parliament. He lost that on allegations of misconduct, so many things. So he was subjected to the rules and proceed to the disciplinary committee of Parliament, and yes, he had to lose that slot. Then it's during that same time that we witnessed the Speaker of Parliament, Anita Mung, alleging that she was being trailed. And after a short while, one of the persons who was heading her security detail was spotted somewhere in Canada. And this also raised so many questions. And again, it's only this very time that we saw a united opposition converging at Hotel Africana, agreeing to one single voice that elections only cannot take away what they call dictatorship in this country. Then, of course, there have been rampant abductions. Many Ugandans have faced this. They have been kidnapped. Sometimes it's the name, how they choose to call it, which matters. Sometimes they're called abductions. Sometimes they are kidnaps. Lately, we've not had so much of arrests. But we could call them arrests as well. But again, these are unlawful arrests. We've seen this happening so much. You remember the Kakwenza, what happened? Human rights abuses have also been spotted to be on the rise. Kakwenza, many politicians actually, they faced this. And as we speak, much in the West Member of Parliament, Alan Sewanyana is still detained. Kawempe North have been joined by, I have two guests. One is online, watching us from the United States of America. He's a panelist, that's Uncle Chiwa Nsereko Lawrence. He's part of the show. And you're most welcome, Uncle Chiwa. Uncle Chiwa is a Ugandan journalist who is currently exiled in the United States for over 20 years. And one time I heard the president of Uganda, His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, saying that Uganda is the only country that does not have refugees and maybe other Ugandans who are in exile for political reasons. But on this show, I have Uncle Chiwa Nsereko Lawrence, who has lived in exile for over 20 years. He's going to be part of this discussion. I also have one of, if you remember, is it the famous or the unpopular? I don't know. There was that proposal that came through some time back. They're like, we should go back to the parliamentary system, in that Ugandans should never waste time going to the polls to cast and choose who should become the president of this country. But as long as you elect your member of parliament, yes, let's leave each and everything to the member of parliament to decide for us who should become the president of Uganda. And that gentleman is also part of the show tonight. That gentleman, his name is called Hillary. The other name confuses me. Is it Ainesasi, not Ainesasi. Ainesasi Hillary. He is the chief mobilizer for that NRM Transformers association. And yes, is one of the people who think that Mr. Museveni should keep on the track. Tavakubara. Yes. He's a young man who still believes that Mr. Museveni should be given much time. Well, thank you so much, Mr. Hillary. Mr. Ainesasi, thank you for joining us.
It's a pleasure. Thank you, moderator. And I take this opportunity to greet all Ugandans and to welcome them into the new and the prosperous new year. I really welcome them from a very hard and a tough year that we have had, 2022. Congratulations upon going through that, and we sympathize with all those that lost their dear ones, and those that are not doing well. We pray for them to heal as soon as quickly, in the name of the Almighty God.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Ainesasi. He is the chief mobilizer for the NRM Transformers and also a member of Team Thara, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. Tavakubala. Well, I also have Uncle Chiwa. It's a pleasure to have you, Mr. Nsereko Lawrence. It's a pleasure to have you on the show, sir.
It's wonderful to have you here, and I'm happy to see Hillary Ainesasi being with us. I say Happy New Year to you all, and I wish a better future for all Ugandans and everybody a wonderful life.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Uncle Chiwa. Uncle Chiwa is a Ugandan journalist who is currently based in the United States, not in good terms, not because he doesn't love home. He loves home, but circumstances around him do not favor him to practice what he loves doing much in his mother.
22 year, it has not been an easy year because of the events that happened. First of all, the pandemic that we managed to go through. Before the year ended, we had the border back. It put some areas within Uganda back into a lockdown, which was also another setback as far as the recovery of the economy for such people as they are concerned. There is a lot. Here we came with a proposal, but that was a proposal, as he said, of changing the system. But that proposal, the intention was to put it to the public and to the public to discuss about it. And the most important part of it for us as former contestants was to find out, to gather the information, to get the research, to research about it, and we see whether we should go with it or not. And the research that we got is that the members seems not to support it, but there are other areas, because people, when we brought that proposal, people looked at that only element of the parliamentary system, but they forgot the biggest element, whereby we were looking at having the Senate. Then we had the one we can call the upper house and the lower house, and the purpose was that to regulate the activities and actions of the parliament, so that there is, like in some areas, when you look at Italy, it is there, and they are peaceful. We were looking at the existence, the continuity.
Is that a viable benchmark, Italy and Uganda?
A viable benchmark, because now when you look at our history, we have gone through a lot, and we wouldn't wish to go back. So one of our members, actually, this is an association of all members who contested in these previous elections. So
not all, NRM.
NRM, I'm talking about in the primaries, NRM primaries. So normally what we do is that members bring suggestions, and among the suggestions we look at them, and we don't curtail members from fronting the ideas. It's an association where members, those that were not able to go to parliament, and I may say their win was postponed to 2026. But here is an association where we can gather and propose the ideas. Like, for example, if we were in Parliament now, you would have brought such an individual who brought an idea, or that proposal would have brought it to the August House, in the Parliament. But now that he or she is not there, here it comes. We say, okay, let us give it to the public discuss it. And if it is not well with the public, then the public will decide, we will guide, and we had the views of the public, and the conclusion was made within ourselves. And many ideas, like I said, many ideas are cropping up. One of our colleagues again brought another idea, brilliant idea, of the establishment of an agricultural bank. I think you could have heard about it. Establishment of agriculture and the cooperative bank. So that is another proposal that has come up through Transformer. Why is it there? Because it is also looking at the population.
Mr. Ainesasi,
yes.
You seem to have good ideas, yes. Let me say, good in quotation, because I've not done any scientific kind of research to ascertain whether they are good or not. Yes. But for now, I want to refer to them as good ideas. Yes. But whatever you're talking about, these are not new things in Uganda. Yes. Initially, if you remember, the very first election, your president participated in an election. We're using parliamentary system. You remember, yes. He tried and he went to the bush, you know? Yes. And up to now, many Ugandans believe he has failed to justify why he went to the bush, because he was not even among the first runners. Now, we also, even before, we had the cooperative bank, farmers, something, you know, which could really support. And most of the things, like you're trying to revive us back into what happened, and your vision bearer.
And there is a lot that happened. When you look at the political side, then you look at the different groupings within our party, and here and there. So there is a lot that happened. But all in all, the year, I can say we were victorious, because we managed to win some hard battles health-wise. Hard battles.
As you, as a country, as NRM?
As a country, and as an NRM government which is in power.
Well, thank you so much, Bwana Ainesasi. Now, I want to invite Uncle Chiwa. Uncle Chiwa, I want to start with the point of human rights. In the year 2022, we witnessed a number of events happening. It's this time that many people were able to join you in the category of Uncle Chiwa. Many people joined you, the Kakwenza, the Stella Nyanzi, and many others whom we even never got a chance to know about. But I believe the ones that went into the public domain, it's just a handful of the so many who could have gone through the same. In circumstances like this, where we are continuing to witness what the colleagues in the opposition call gross abuse of human rights, you know, and that in such times we would be inviting the Uncle Chiwas and the rest, please come back, and we develop, we contribute to the growth of our country. But again, we are seeing many again instead leaving the country. What's your analysis of such events in this era?
Thank you again, and thank you, Hillary Ainesasi. It's wonderful to hear younger people getting involved, even when they are involved on a very dangerous trail, where we must pull you away and put you on a right path. We will discuss that more in our conversation. But Abdalla Tiff, I want to first of all caution you that the journalists in Uganda need to stop saying the way you have captioned the statement in relation to gross human rights abuse. You said what the opposition calls gross human rights abuse. You are in Uganda, journalists are capable of investigating, and they are facts. So this is not an opposition opinion. This is a fact. They are facts. So this is not an opposition opinion. This is a fact on the ground. And the biggest dangers in journalism is self-censorship. Okay. When some of us failed to do that, we ended up in exile. But there is a level that you can push and be able to say certain things the right way they should be said. There is gross abuse of human rights in Uganda, and we must face it and work on improving it. All of us, this is not a niche, certain things the right way they should be said. There is gross abuse of human rights in Uganda, and we must face it and work on improving it. All of us, this is not an issue of the opposition. It actually, when I look at Ainesasi, I see someone who really needs a freer playing field than anybody else. So when I look at the previous year, I still painfully groan for my country, because I see that as we continue on, one year after the other, the pain, the suffering, the torture, the disappearance, the murder, the narrowing of the political space, all these just keep on accumulating and accumulating. Okay. You remember, by the time I ran away from Uganda, people actually thought I was creating stories when I said they had plucked my nails out. Now, today, 20-something years later, nobody doubts that that happens. And I am seeing the trajectory is not where we should be going. People like Ainesasi should be having a forum where they can discuss with the people who have alternative views that are contradictory to their views, whereby we could be able to have a very good conversation. I have listened to some of the ideas that he's projecting, and some of these are good ideas. But what we need to actually do is that we have to stop for a moment and ask ourselves, why are we in this situation of mental stagnation? And I'm using that term very, very painfully, not to insult anyone. These issues, as we see them, were here. Parliamentary democracy was here. Okay? Elia Kategaya, as the National Political Commissar, wrote a paper and pushed hard with several other people. Some are now even in opposition to push for for the removal of parliamentary democracy in favor of the presidential model of governance. Some of us were still saying we can actually work in a parliamentary democracy. And I might agree that it might be a better system in terms of governance. But the moving it then was to ensure that an individual who was relatively popular at that time can ascend and stay in office. Now, he is aging, he can't travel around effectively. They are now trying to find the pseudo extensions that can run for office and then bring him in. Now, if this was a sincere project, we could have a conversation about it and look at the pros and the cons and say, this is where we are going as a country. Okay? And I want to sound like a history lecturer here, but Agricultural Bank, what was UCB? UCB was founded by Ugandans. Money was deducted from the sales of cotton and the coffee to initially capitalize UCB. It was supposed to be a bank for farmers, an agricultural bank. And when these people came to power in 1986, they decided to sell it off and share the spoils. Now, the guy who was actually much involved in it is in Namunkekela, also occupying land which was owned by a cooperative society. So there is an irony, my friend Hillary, that you have to deal with. before you actually look outside the NRM to campaign, your campaign should go inside the NRM and discuss these issues deeper inside the NRM and talk to your leaders and supporters to understand what they've done to this country.
Well, thank you so much, Uncle Chiwa. I think that was so much insightful. I've captured a few things. Uncle Chiwa says that there is need to run out of that circle of mental stagnation. And then the issue of human rights abuses. This is not an allegation any further, but it's a reality, and indeed it is. Yes, then he also talks about the UCB, Uganda Commercial Bank. Earlier on you said you want to bring an agriculture bank. I really don't know where these proposals are going to be tabled, because your head of the party, Mr. Museveni, by the time he came, there was UCB. He realized there was no need of having UCB. It was privatized into something else, and as I speak, it's no longer a bank. It's something else, even where it was headquartered.
Mr. Lawrence, what he has said, that why one of our colleagues tabled the idea of having a parliamentary system of voting. It's not true that our president, my national chairperson of the party, is no longer strong enough to traverse the whole country. It's not true. That idea was not brought up simply because he thinks, the colleague thinks that he can no longer move the whole country. It is not true. It was brought up because, basing on the interests of a few Ugandans who think that it is a system that can really help the country remain in peace. That was an idea.
What advantages does it bring on board?
Because I said it earlier on. I talked about peace and stability. Because when you look
so all along we've not had peace and stability.
It has
the
been
peace and stability being talked about is a hoax.
No, it is there, but we are looking at the continuity of peace and stability. After this I can call it not long, but a few years that we have been around, and we are projecting, you can never be, that's why we have a vision, you can never stop to dream, or you can never stop to preempt the patron. Right now, to make it clear, is that the team, Team Thara, which the one you know, is that we are not in such activities.
Which activities? The
activities, yes, Tova Kumain is there. There are other Ugandans who are saying so. There are others who think, right now, we believe, yes, the president is our flag bearer for NRM.
When?
Since 2021, he's still our flag bearer until 2026.
Okay.
And his term is still on.
Okay.
What we are focusing on right now is socio-economic transformation of Ugandans.
You mean the Team Thara
and other Ugandans and other
those groups which are inclined to your line of thinking?
Not line of thinking. We are because when I talk.
Am I your colleague in that regard?
Yes, you are. The door is not limited, is not closed. Because if we are doing mobilization, because I am a mobilizer, I don't mobilize my own people. I try to convince even those.
Yes, but a colleague is someone who is part of you.
Oh, yes.
So when you say my colleagues,
yes,
it's like the people who are already.
We can have colleagues in opposition.
Yes, but a colleague is someone who is.
Yes, okay.
You have
Ugandans, but what we are looking at is transforming them from the poverty, because the battle now is about poverty. It's not time for politics. It's time to think about how to alleviate Ugandans from the poverty line. And that's why we are saying, as a team, which I am is as a leader,
and the
NRM Transformers. But the Transformers, you know, these are members who contested in the NRM primaries, and they were voted. Had they gotten the flag, they would be representing all Ugandans.
Let me ask you, Mr. Ainesasi.
Yes.
Whose interest do you really serve? You know, when you talk about as NRM, Transformers, cadres, blah, blah, whatever.
You know,
is this a club of people who want to, seeking for relevance, saying that we get to, maybe the big man will spot it like, hey, this man has struggled, because we know people who have done this before. And maybe they've been rewarded with RDC jobs and all that. So when you talk about poverty alleviation programs, this government has created an impression that they have come up with a number of measures, much as when it's a tug of war, if you happen to look for the tangible results on ground. So what new ideas, like under which structure are you?
You talk to the same, because they contested in NRM primaries, and therefore they are members of the party. And the party NRM you are talking about, or we are talking about, or we are in.
You are talking about.
Yes, it serves all Ugandans. You get it? And that's why we have very many people, by the way, serving within NRM government, even when they are not members of the party. For example, we have Chairman Mao. He's a DP chairperson, but he's serving in NRM government. So you were asking a question that whose interest are we serving? We are serving the interest of Ugandans, and we are serving the interest of the government that we are in, which is NRM government.
Thank you so much. I want Uncle Chiwa to come in this conversation. On the panel, we have a gentleman who is Chief Mobilizer.
Yes,
that's a very big office. Chief Mobilizer of the NRM Thara. Team Thara.
Yes, Team Thara.
Team Thara.
Yes.
And then he's also the Chief Mobilizer Squared of the NRM Transformers cadres. These are basically NRM losers. Though you hate that. But okay, let's polish it the way you want. NRM Transformers cadres.
All right.
Well, mandated to do that. And now he comes in that for the interests of Ugandans, as he says. I do not know how applicable this is in the current setting. Yes, Uncle Chiwa. The team in the control room give us some sound. We can't hear.
You see, younger people have a lot of gusto, and they have the will to do things.
Give us more sound. The team in the control room.
Yes. Okay. All right. I like the forcefulness, the feeling, the hope that Ainesasi brings to the table. Okay. I'm only saddened that I can never count myself as an old man. Human beings are not butterflies. That they go through the stages and then you become a butterfly that is going to be admired by people. You a caterpillar fly. No. Human beings grow on a curve until they become waste. Okay. Now, you can't think of being a transformative person while you have somebody who is possessed with archaic ideas of extreme desire to control, to be the one who is going to give you room to transform the country. Also, when you talk about transformation, you need to solve the political question before you get to the socio-economic question. Our problem is not economic viability as a country. The problem of Uganda is a political question, and until we resolve the political question, all the other matters cannot be resolved. Whatever you build will one day be destroyed if you do not solve the political question. You see, in the 1960s, Obote had done relatively well, but because he misbehaved himself on the political front, didn't like other centers of power, attacked other centers of power and removed them, whatever he had economically constructed crumbled. Okay. Amin had great initiatives of Africanizing the economy. But because he had not solved the political question of the country, his policies failed. Museveni came in with fundamental ideas, even though I never liked his approach to politics since I came to know him. But when he came to power, there was a semblance. And he used that semblance to actually maneuver and use people. And I fear that even you younger people are going to be used in the same manner. But the proposals were kind of sound. You know, at one time told us that
and there is still a lot that needs to be done to put things in the proper context. And for 36, 37 years, there's some issues that have been raised time and again. And every time you happen to discuss the challenges that, you know, are within Uganda, and they keep appearing time and again. And now you're talking about the issue of a political question being addressed before anything else. And of course, this is according to how you look at things. And when you discuss with the Ainesasi, he will tell you the political question was way addressed a long time back in 1986. So sometimes it depends on the kind of lenses each one of us puts on. But amidst all this, now that many other things, many things have been put to hold just to address the question of leadership, governance, or the political question. What possible interventions do you think are necessary to put or to address the question of leadership and governance as we speak? Over to you, Uncle Chiwa.
Do you hear me?
Yes, yes, yes.
Oh, wonderful. Okay. The political question that needs to first be addressed is to make Ugandans equal in the political arena. We have to move away from where we have political lions, political cats, and other people, because they are carrying heavier guns and machetes, and claim larger political space. Now, once that happens, Uganda needs to focus on a national project. You see, people are kind of skimmish and they don't want to talk about it. But Uganda today is extremely tribalized in a negative manner. You see, I used to be comfortable to speak Kinyarwanda and my broken Runyankore. As a Muganda, it was okay. Today, if you speak one of those languages amongst other people who are not from Western Uganda, people's faces wrinkle. Why? These are concerns that we must address. There has that people with alien conduct, and when I say alien conduct, I am not part of those people who are saying Museveni is a Munyarwanda. Whether he's a Munyarwanda or not, I am concerned about the alien character. Okay. The behavior that is unbecoming. That has brought us this far, where the economy that my friend thinks of transforming is in favor of a few people. We have people who are grabbing land from Lolokoi in Karamoja to Kisoro. And these people are from a given particular class. How do they accumulate the wealth to purchase land and dispossess people? When Museveni came to power, one of his issues was people who were landless. If you read his thesis at the University of Dar es Salaam, he writes about that issue. He is very concerned. But when he came to power, the first thing he did was to start grabbing land himself. And the first land he grabbed wasn't the land of a Muganda or of a Nachon. He grabbed Boniface Byanyima's land. That's the first land he took. Then he went after the lands of the people like James Musinguzi. Then he went to Ruwero, to the land of Yesekaya. So this one small issue of dispossessing people with the land, that must be addressed nationwide. We can't have a nation with people who are landless. Okay? That is political, it's cultural, it's economical issue. But above it all, we need to find a conference, have a round table as Ugandans, and we all come as we are, and we start talking to each other and draw up a new nation. This hodgepodge of what we call Uganda today is not sustainable. You say that the political question was resolved in 1986. No, that was a military question. That's the military from the gun belonging to the people in the northern region of the country to the gun moving to the southern region of the country. And now the southerners became the hunters of the northerners. That is not a political solution. These are issues we need to sit down and we say, as Ugandans, what are we going to do? We need a constitution. The current constitution is relatively good, leave for a few clauses that were drawn in for personal interests of certain individuals.
Well,
we can amend it, but we are not just going to invite individuals, because this is the problem. Nobody Mao goes to NRM, he gets a slice of bread, and you think the nation is represented. That's hogwash, and nobody is going to drink it.
Well, thank you so much, Uncle Chiwa. Uncle Chiwa seems to suggest that as a country, we need a discourse to discuss, have that roundtable discussion, and define the kind of country we need, where each and everyone has an input in shaping the country we want. Well, we're going to first keep it at that, and of course, we need to go for a very, very short break, and when we return, the hotline show will continue, and I'll be starting with you, Mr. Ainesasi, your views on the proposal being brought forward. And then Uncle Chiwa has also raised a number of, quite a number of issues to do, like on top of the political question. He advocates for equal stake of all Ugandans within the political ranks. You know, then he talks about having a national project, you know, for the entire country, where each and everyone feels represented. The issue of tribal sentiments, and they've gotten on the rise of late. And then, of course, land grabbing. He has also cited a number of, you know, victims of this. Well, let's break off briefly, and we will be returning shortly.
The Alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.
Are you craving for that special meal that will entice your taste buds and leave you with lasting thrilling memories? Look no further. Spice Island Bulenga has got your answer. Natural, fresh and delicious juice, the best meals. Don't miss our daily specials from Monday to Sunday. Pizza Wednesday, Saturday Pizza Bonanza, you buy one and take two. Come dine with us and feel the experience. We are located at Prime Shopping Center in Bulenga, Mitiana Road. For inquiries, call us on 0704111720. Spice Island, we treat your cravings.
Fellow citizens, following the sequence of events, Uganda seems to be at political crossroads.
I'm not a servant of anybody.
Madam, I know the law.
As such, Alternative Digital brings you the Interface Show with retired Colonel Dr. Kiza Besuje.
Let's keep on the same page on Alternative Digitalk,
as he gives you the alternatives on the transition question, rule of law, human rights and freedom, youth inclusion in governance, economic stagnation, as he confirms.
I'll be always here Saturday from 10 a.m. in the morning. Be there.
Don't miss the live discussion on the Alternative Uganda, Digitalk TV Facebook pages, and the Alternative Uganda YouTube channel.
The old
And one important proposal he brought up was to have a national discourse, to have to have a discourse, to discuss, to define the new trajectory for this country, what we need and how this country should look like. I think this is very, very important, and we need this as early as yesterday. And well, I wanted to bring in Mr. Ainesasi on the proposals to have each and everyone having an equal stake in the affairs of this country. We are living in a country where today when I say you are Munyankole, you take that to be tribal. Not you, but yeah, you know, that's what is within. We are living in an era where land grabbing is the order of the day. For people like you who have some sort of close proximity to State House, and you've continued to manifest a lot of impunity. You know, there is a time, I have some land somewhere, and when I went, every time I go there, I try to check on the LOC1 chairman. And when I was buying land, like, here we do not have issues to do with land. And so one day when I went, the wife, the LOC chairman wasn't there. It's the wife. So she brought me the visitor's book. And I'm sorry, I peeped through, and many of the people who had written in the book, like, issue comment, like, land grabbing, land issue, like, what? You know, so we are living in a country where I can use what is within my means to take what belongs to you. And I'm very sure you're going to be honest enough not to say that this is not there. Now, do you agree that the proposals being brought forward by Uncle Chiwa are very much viable and we need them?
Thank you, moderator, and my colleague, my counterpart in the US, Mr. Chiwa. The proposals that he's telling us right now. Number one, if I may begin from the last that he said, one was the formation, the coming to the round table and discuss as all Ugandans. I think that has been there. If I am not forgetting, I understand that there's been iPod. iPod, it's a forum that brings all the stakeholders of this country.
No. iPod is
for the
entirely for not all political parties. iPod is entirely for those with representation in parliament.
Representation, not representation in power.
In parliament.
In parliament. But where does the representation in parliament, but representing who?
No, my brother, when you say that everyone is represented, Uganda has 29 registered political parties.
Yes.
In parliament, you only have 8 parties.
Now,
so not all Ugandans are represented.
But now, what is the percentage of the other parties that are FDC and other parties and independent? So, when the iPod is represented by all those parties. Now, if we are looking at the voice, representing the voice of those that moved out and casted their vote in the previous election, we see people being represented here.
My brother.
Yes, because now when we talk about coming, and it is on point that some Ugandans who should be representing the group of Ugandans, we are trying to avoid this.
Let me ask you,
yes,
how many independent members of parliament do we have?
Of course, independent, the number of independent is even almost more than the NUP. So I may not be certain of the number.
Under iPod structure, where do they fall?
They are not there, but
so where do they fall?
But some
because
of
if you justify that iPod alone is enough to have each and every one.
What I'm talking, because even those independent MPs, some of them have the parties where they lean to.
But we, in parliament, we take them as independent.
Yes, they are independent, but you have seen most of the independents going to Chankwanzi, those who belong to NRM who are leaning to NRM.
How about those who don't belong to NRM?
They are those, they lean to the other parties.
Like who and who?
I may not be able to mention the names, but some candidates, some
well,
MPs.
Do you know, we have members of leaders at the local government level,
yes,
who are not represented in parliament. Of the 29 political parties,
yes,
we have political parties which have leaders who are not part of the parliament, but they are represented at the local government level.
For example?
ANT is not in parliament, but they have a district chairman. They have councillors. You know? So if you suggest that iPod is enough to represent and bring each and everyone's voice on board, there are those who are not part of iPod and they are not represented.
They are not represented, but now we are talking about opposition and the sitting government. You get it? You're understanding me? The fact that we have iPod, and iPod is a representation of both within government and within the opposition.
At which level?
At the party level. That's why we have the Secretary General.
Level.
No, we have the Secretary General.
iPod is at parliamentary level, sir.
There is the other time I saw the Secretary Generals of all parties meeting the President.
Of the 29 parties?
Not the 29 parties that are made up of iPod. And a certain group of Secretary Generals didn't appear there. Here we are talking about coming together and bring their views on how to build a nation together. And now when my colleague talks about the political question, I feel sometimes I'm failing to understand him. Because when you talk about a political question, we are talking about political inclusion, we are talking about a democracy whereby every Ugandan has a right to choose a leader he or she wants to represent him or her. And here, we achieved it since we started the multi-party system. Since we began the parliamentary system, Ugandans were given a right to choose the leaders that they prefer. And now here I am seeing my colleague talking about a political question. I don't understand which political question is this. We have had several presidential elections, MPs, from national up to the village level. So I don't think that the Uganda's problem is a political question. We have just to accept that there are some errant officers or errant individuals that error and all the error is turned against the government. And besides that, by the way, that is now the part of the political question. If we go to the to land grabbing, it's true. There is a very big problem with land grabbing within Uganda, and most of Ugandans have been left landless. And it's true again that the president has tried his best to make sure that those who are landless are settled. And that's why we have Minister of Lands, and you have been seeing here and there Honorable Nabakoba running to fight. And by the way, those people, those who are chasing away the Ugandans from their land, some of them are not part of the government. Some of them are even, we don't know which party they belong to, but they are just there. I can call them, are they intend maybe to sabotage the government programs, they intend to tarnish the government of the name of the government. I think that's how I have failed actually at one moment to understand them. But the fact is that the president is on record to have come out to fight for the rights of the landless Ugandans. And that's why we have even many committees of land to make sure that they settle matters and make sure that Ugandans are settled.
Well, thank you so much. I want to thank our viewers from wherever you are for being part of the conversation. I see a number of comments coming through. I think I should read through some comments here before.
Then the other point is about what Mr. Lawrence, my colleague in US talked about, that the issue of tribalism, then the issue of having one a certain group of people manage. No, it's not true really. When you look at our government is a government of inclusion of everybody, all Ugandans. It's upon it's only individuals who only want to capitalize on.
Mr. Ainesasi,
yes.
When you're defending these things,
yes,
do you take some time to think and analyze before giving in your answer, your response?
Yes, I do. I do. I am telling you that now the composition of our government. If you're talking about tribalism or a small group of people managing the economy, or those that are in the government offices, if you look at them really, which kind of tribalism are we talking about here?
Well, thank you. We'll get back. Let me first read through some comments, and our audience feels left out. But we really appreciate that you're part of the conversation. Western Prince, thank you for watching. Your comments here, na influencer na abimanya ati Abdalla is totally, let me leave it out. Then Matilda Mek, thank you for watching. Blessed Rose, watching from Mombasa, thank you. Wabula Mfenseko, anange. Western Prince, no, I'm not. I'm not reading that as well. Sema, okay. Blessed Rose, oh Lord Jesus, save my neighbor country from this corrupt, self-centered, selfish, inhuman leaders from hell. Mubuze, what is politics and what is not politics? Matilda, then influencer. Among the I think I should leave these comments for now. Well, our viewers, thank you for watching. Well, I want to go to Uncle Chiwa. I know you have a very serious rejoinder. Mr. Ainesasi believes that there is no need to have that discussion. Since we have the iPod with the representation of 8 political parties, the 45 million Ugandans are well represented, and he strongly believes that there is no need to dwell on such. And then the tribal element you try to front, it's also within a few handful, not a national problem. And then the land grabbing, at least there you are at par. He agrees that there are still challenges to do with land grabbing, much as the government is trying within its means to have this problem solved. Yes, Uncle Chiwa. Well, I know we'll be having Uncle Chiwa in the next few. You know, these are issues to do with technology. Sometimes we experience such hiccups. Mr. Ainesasi.
Yes.
Before Uncle Chiwa comes in the preamble here, we talked about Ugandans who have Oh, Uncle Cho is back. Yes, sir.
Ainesasi, among the things you need to transform is work on the internet cable services. Please include that on the list. Okay. No. First of all, I want to apologize. If anybody says something derogatory about Ainesasi, I become uncomfortable. We need to allow our younger people, we need to allow them to express themselves. However wrong they are, we will remodel them, we will correct them. Because if they don't speak up, they will remain insulated in a very wrong situation. And I think Ainesasi speaks, I figure out where many of our people are. I want to say this. The person that you are so dear to, or we so dear to you, in 1987, in the Newsweek magazine, he said that he intends to create a trade owners and workers. Okay? This is during his interview on the 1 year in the power anniversary. And when we see some of this land grab, which you are diplomatically trying to believe this is the process continuing of creating owners and workers, it's concerning. You see, you also go forward and talk about the political question being solved or resolved, and you talk about iPod. Now, when I talk about the Uganda project, the national project, I am talking about all Ugandans coming on the table. And this is not going to be about numbers, not about might, but it's about Ugandans together and resolving a question. We are not going to do it by population. If we do it by population, and we say, well, the Sabini are fewer, and we think they are Acholis are more, so the Sabinis should not be considered. That is going to be very dangerous. Okay. I want people to come as they are in all their formations and sit down for Uganda project. This is not a conversation with Museveni. This is not a conversation with the opposition or between the opposition and the Museveni. We need all of us to be genuine to each other, use the state instruments. And I don't want you to believe that the state is Museveni. Okay? Museveni is a passing cloud. It might stay in the sky for a longer time. But one morning it's going to rain and the sky will be clear. Okay? He's a human being. And I don't want us to all the time page the national hopes and the concerns on that one individual. However wonderful he is, if he is, he might be around for maybe another 15 years at the most. He will expire. But we need to look at the country. How do we handle the intolerance if we say the political question was resolved? Okay. Genuinely, have we had a free and a fair election in Uganda? Ever? It has not happened since independence. This is the question we must address. Because your bread is buttered, that should not make one think that things are okay politically. Because Ainesasi and your friends can have a meeting and discuss their issues, and the police does not attack them, that should not make them believe that when Kiwanuka decides to have a meeting and he gets attacked, it's not a concern. No.
The Alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.
we thank God that we are now back again to continue with our conversation. Before we experienced the technical hiccup, Uncle Chiwa was on set trying to share a few highlights, and I'd wanted him to respond whom he thinks should initiate and spearhead the conversation of having a roundtable discussion to determine the kind of country we need and how are we arriving at the country that we all aspire to see. Well, I do not know yet whether Uncle Chiwa is back online or he has also gone with the technical hiccup that we experienced. But I believe he's back online, and if he's there, I would like him to respond. If he's not, then, well, I will straight away invite in my brother Ainesasi, who is the chief mobilizer of the team NRM Cadre and NRM Transformers cadres, who is here with us tonight. Well, in this same year, 2022.
2023.
No, 2022. Let's dive a little bit into the parliament.
Yes.
Many reports came through, Kosasa reports, you remember the Bamturachi,
Yes.
Stage, and many things were there.
Yes.
And the security threats that came along, you remember the Speaker of Parliament, trying to raise her voice that she's being trailed, and her security detail had to be, switched. And along the way, they realized one who was heading it was somewhere in Canada, attending one of the conventions there. And he traveled without her knowledge. Well, when we look into our parliament,
Yes.
are you comfortable with what they deliver? Did they serve to our expectations as a country?
Some extent, yes. So then to the other extent, some have been there just. I think there is a lot that is demanding from them. I won't go much into what the speaker was talking about, the Right Honorable Speaker being trailed. I have not been so. I don't know. She knows better, and I think it is the intelligence part. It is the part of the intelligence and the security to who can speak about that, because I don't know.
You are not a member of parliament?
I am not a member of parliament to get concerned to that extent. Maybe being as a Ugandan, but I think matters of security to that extent, individual security, I think they have every person, if you have security, then there must be a security head. So I think they have where they are supposed to report and how they are supposed to be handled.
Well, it's still in that time that that year, 2022,
yes.
that we had many talks to do with the poisoning. Poison allegations, poison. And these are things that are not so new to the parliament.
Yes.
Right from the times of Honorable Selina Nevanda, yes. We've had those allegations of poisoning. And even during the death of the former Speaker of Parliament, the Right Honorable Jacob Olanya, the allegation, the poison things, came through. And to the point that even the father, many things happened in 2022.
Yes.
Well, Uncle Chiwa is back online. Uncle Chiwa, before we experienced the technical challenge here, you, on your proposals, could you kindly tell us whom do you think should initiate and spearhead the conversation of discussing the national project, Uganda?
Dilemmas we have as a country, that the current regime in many ways has killed the civil society. But that having been said, and I'm talking about need to create an infrastructure as a people where even Museveni's family, because Museveni's family is bigger than any political organization in the country, should be invited to the table. Okay? No, don't laugh at that statement. Okay? Which other family has about 4 people who are as powerful as these people are? You have someone who is determining the education system in the country. You have another one controlling the health, even the distant relative. You have the brother controlling all the national wealth and everywhere. So everyone, sinners and the saints, they should all come and we sit down. And we decide that the sinners maybe should be penalized. Okay? And the angels rewarded. So for me, I'm not looking at this actually as an issue of the current political parties only, the 28 political parties. You surprised me, you said 29. I knew of 28. So I need to go back at my studies.
We've lost you, Uncle Chiu, again.
That comprise Uganda. I don't like the word tribes. I prefer the word ethnic entities because the word tribe is a little bit derogatory. If you look at its etymology, the word tribe means a grouping of primitive primates. So I don't like it. But we get these ethnic entities. Originally, Uganda was composed by 14 who sat together, chiefdoms and kingdoms, and they said this is the way forward. But there was a lot of games that were being played by the Europeans. So can we go back to those 14 and explore how we can sit back with the delegates from those and redefine the country? Okay. This is what I'm concerned about, mainly, having a national project. Because I am seeing a transition that we are not arranging ourselves. Okay?
Well, we've lost Uncle Chiwa again. You've heard, I like the term ethnic entities as opposed to using tribes, and yes, I love that. Well, Mr. Ainesasi,
Yes.
you know Honorable Musenero? Honorable Musenero.
Yes, I do.
She's the Minister of Science and Technology.
Exactly.
Do you know that she bought rats each at 8 million shillings?
Yes, I have heard about it, but I am not sure. I can't say yes, it is true, because I have not seen the facts and all the transactions that they took.
And you were not, as a transformer, you were not interested in knowing whether it's true or not?
Yes, there are modalities of getting the factuals. You could be interested and you don't, but there is no, when you have no accessibility, because there is where I stop, there is where I begin, there is where I stop. So until I see the facts then, because I normally try to avoid speaking out of speculation or making comments out of speculations.
But were you interested in knowing the facts behind?
Yes, I would be. Yes, I was interested.
And how far did you go in ascertaining the facts?
Because there are channels how you are supposed to get information, and it is our parliament that would have brought that. Did they? And why didn't they?
But it was there. It was discussed there.
It was discussed, but now, at the end of it all, what
or you never gave it attention?
No,
which is also okay.
Yes, no, giving it, you give attention to issues of national importance, right?
And 8 million shillings Ugandan taxpayers' money buying
now,
one single rat.
That is where, if it was not, if it wasn't appropriate, then it goes to the current parliament that we are having.
But as a transformer cadre,
yes,
I expected you to be giving alternative views.
Okay.
Just like you've said here in the introduction remarks. Yes. And if we are looking, you've been talking about social transformation. You remember that statement?
Yes, yes.
And where we also included me as your colleague, you remember?
Yes.
Yes, and so if you're trying to look at social transformation and then our tax is being spent on rats buying 8 million shillings, and this transformer here seated with me is not interested in this matter, isn't that strange?
It's not true that I'm not interested in it, and at the same time, it's not good to, how can I call it? Should I call it misappropriation?
I don't know.
It's called, in economic terms, it's not applicable really to have such a price for that, for such really, if you look at our economy and you look at the rate at which our debt is expanding, and you buy such kind of items that applies, to me it's not applicable, but I need to speak with facts.
Where do you get the facts?
The facts, it is our parliament that is supposed to ask those, to bring those.
But the fact, Parliament done its job, has done its job.
And now, then what? No, doing the job. Then what next after they doing the job?
It's what I am asking you now as a,
it is
as a transformer.
Now, that
so
is.
What is your take that
now we give our views.
We who subscribes to the party you love so much,
yes,
about rats,
yes,
each at the cost of 8 million shillings, and that's Ugandan money.
Now, who is supposed to take an action if at all it was not appropriate, which I think it shouldn't have been like that? Who is supposed to take an action? Because me as a transformer, I'm someone.
Mr. Ainesasi.
Yes.
What matters are of interest to you?
The matters of interest
in all the portfolios you handle.
Yes.
Mobilizer.
Of course, those are matters.
All these are non-issues.
No, these are serious issues, because when you look at our economy, we are looking at how we are almost the biggest percentage, we have to 50%, almost 50% of our budget is funded by the foreign donations and all that. And here we have the little we have, we spend it expensive. We buy expensive things. We spend it the way we want.
No, rats are not expensive, my brother.
I am saying we buy things expensively. That's what I'm saying. You're getting. I think you get my point. What I'm trying to say is that having a rat at 8 million, it sounds funny. It sounds funny. But what I am saying, what I'm trying to let you know is that if it is too much, what did our parliament do? Because that's why I'm saying I wouldn't love to talk about something when it is being handled that side, because it means...
Let me ask you this. Do you remember the corruption scandal where Mr. Museveni and Sam Kutesa were mentioned?
Yes, I remember.
You remember? When they took a bribe from a Chinese investor?
I am not sure whether they took a bribe, because those were, some of these things are the allegations, because they are not factual.
My brother.
Yes. They are not factual. That's what I'm telling, because I don't want to talk out of speculation. It's true.
You don't know.
I know, it's true.
Not knowing is not a crime.
It's true.
You could be not knowing about that particular
incident. True. It's true that we have too much corruption. You get it?
Okay. Do you remember the scenario, an incident where Mr. Museveni and Sam Kutesa were named in the corruption scandal?
Those were allegations.
Do you remember?
But those were allegations.
Do you remember? Anyway.
Those were allegations. What I'm saying, those were allegations. You get it?
Do you remember the sanctions that were imposed against Sam Kutesa in that matter?
The sanction, yes. Not on that matter.
Okay.
Not on that matter.
Another question.
Not on that matter.
Do you remember when Mr. Museveni held a walk to fight corruption here?
But I think we are so demeaning when we say I want you to address him as His Excellency.
No, yes. He's Mr. Museveni. He's Museveni before becoming His Excellency.
But right now he's the president of
the... And I'm not taking away his presidency.
Yeah.
I am not taking away his presidency.
No, when you talk like that, then that means you are so, what we are talking about. What you are talking about is, they are all allegations.
No. What did you call an allegation?
An allegation is like, somebody said, if somebody says,
Can I come in here?
Yes, yes, Uncle Chiwa.
Okay. This is fundamental. You see, one of the things I really detest is intellectual dishonesty. Okay. Hillary is a younger, brilliant man. And if you say you don't want to say anything about something, say, I don't want to comment, and let it rest at that. Because when you tell us that the case of Patrick Hall was an allegation, well, let me take you to school. I live in New York. I attended the court. The evidence was adduced. Receipts were there. Signatures were present. And on the basis of Museveni's signature and receiving money and Sam Kutesa, Patrick Hall was condemned and is serving sentence in jail. And was tried in a fair trial in New York. So we can't cover corruption. You see, these corruption cases have been there, and these are the issues we need to address as a nation. And we say people have committed these crimes. What do we do with them? Because corruption is so amassed in Uganda that if you go out to punish these people, you are going to punish about 35% of the country. So how do we recover those resources without punishing and endangering these people? Okay? These are major issues we need to address. Corruption started way back. Some of the cases you don't know, some of us say the Banca Paribas scandal, which ended up resulting in the corruption of the Uganda Coffee Marketing Board, was there. Museveni covered it up and said, oh, these are new people in the government. This is 1988. They've only been around for 2 years. They don't know what to do. Forgive them. You bet we did. We moved on. We get to the helicopter scandal. His brother steals money in daylight. And he says, you know, Salim Saleh likes money so much. But I talked to him and I forgave him. These are state assets. And he's forgiving him as if it's his cows in Rwachitura. It's impossible. It's completely unacceptable. We need to bring these people. They come to public. They apologize. And we figure out as a country through the judicial system, through the reconciliation programs, or we adopt the Achori Matoput program, or other ways. But we need to address this issue. Because when the fountain of disappointment, some of you call him the fountain of honor, comes up and says, there is no corruption. And if there is corruption, the people who are stealing money are building in Bugorobi. But what is happening to the person in the Karamojong, who the Karamojong are not accessing these resources, the minerals are coming from them, they are dying of diseases, and we don't care. We are just wasting money. Yesterday, we had a minister, Variomus, where he comes from. I don't say he should have died there, but maybe that would have helped the area to build it, to improve on the health facilities. He collapsed, and he couldn't even be taken to the local hospital.
Well, we've lost Uncle Cheo again. Well, that was insightful. Thank you so much. I think I need to read a few comments here. Just one or two. Of course, I will be very, very much selective. This one says, it's really a pity that Mr. Ainesasi is a misrepresentation of the would-be future of this country, according to his view. When you hear him talk, you may think that he is a beneficiary of the regime, when in actual sense, he is a mere blind victim of the regime. which regime, in my view, in his view, has made it hard for him, for you, to see that he too, you, needs help and liberation. He went ahead and said, not in bad faith, but chances are that, one, this brilliant gentleman, you, may be one of the many millions that are jobless. I don't know about that. And therefore thinks that praising Mr. Museveni may earn him a job as an RDC or even a GISO, DISO, PISO, whatever. Where is that? Or even in some rural sub-county, Gombolola, sad indeed. That's according to that person. Then this one, Namirembe Angela, like, you earlier on talked about how your government has incorporated, has brought in different people. Norbert Mao is now serving the NRM government. And her question was, what has Norbert Mao done since he became a minister? Well, you may not be able, you may not respond to that. We are running out of time, but I would request the team to maybe give us an additional 10 minutes, if possible, with their permission. I was asking you, before Uncle Chiwa chipped in, the corruption scandal in the US, where Mr. Sam Kutesa and Mr. Museveni, His Excellency, as you want, were named. It wasn't a scam, it wasn't a hoax, it was real, it was there. Now, one time, Mr. Museveni held a corruption walk. Do you remember? Yes, I do. And the next day, another team also came to do the same. Do you know what happened to them? I remember. Do you know what happened to them? What was it? I remember you proceed. Good. Do you remember the IGG report?
Yes, I remember.
On corruption? Do you remember what Mr. Museveni said? His Excellency, the President of Uganda, the Commander-in-Chief.
What did he say?
He said, those people should be left because they invest money here. And have you ever heard of the 10 points program of the NRM?
Yes, I do.
Which number was corruption? You don't remember?
Yes, I don't remember the actual number, but I know it is part of it.
Okay. One of the things Mr. Museveni wanted to fight, corruption was number 7.
Hasn't he done so? Trying to do so, though. You know,
have you
this
been
is
listening to what I've said?
Yes, I have heard.
I think this show should come to an end.
No, what I'm saying, I want to understand, I want us to agree that we are living in a society that has all categories of people. You get it? It's true, we have so many corrupt officials at different levels in administration of this country. You get it? It's true, because when you go in some areas, you will truly find the situation whereby those that have been instituted to fight corruption, and some of them are corrupt than even those that are going to...
Actually, you're broadening this conversation.
Yes. Because...
my interest, I deliberately chose not to dwell into those... all the corrupt... just a second. I didn't want to dwell into those corruption scandals. Otherwise, I would have brought the Gavi, the Jim West, the Mukula. But I just gave you examples of where your understatements, where your head of state, your head of the party, the commander-in-chief of this country. I gave you just 3 scenarios. The work and what happened, the corruption work he initiated himself, and what happened. I also told you the remarks he made after the IGG came up with a report on corrupt officials, and then the corruption scandal with the Chinese investor in the United States of America, and what he said when he was fighting in Iruero when he brought the 10 points program. So let's just base on that and know whether corruption can be dealt with or not.
It can be, yes, it can be dealt with, but without going that side where you are taking me, it's...
why don't you want to go there?
No, we are talking about...
These are not mere allegations.
Yes, that's what you're saying, but what I am trying to tell you is that it's true. Let's talk about corruption in general.
But we shouldn't talk about these cases.
It's true that there is corruption and corruption is existing. It's a reason why we have anti-corruption unit, State House. It's a reason why we have a body which is IG, Inspectorate of Government.
Yes, but before we even get into those bodies,
yes,
the head of this country, have you heard what he has said? Because if you want to charge me with the corruption, I will tell you, no, but the head of state said as long as we invest here, we can swing as much as we need.
No, the head of state was saying that people, actually his message was encouraging those that have money to invest here such that they create jobs.
Not the corrupt official.
His intention was all about job creation.
There is a comment
for majority Ugandans. That was his intention.
It wasn't in regards to corruption.
That was his intention.
No, it wasn't. But you're not a honest man.
Yes.
You're not honest.
I am very honest.
There is that comment that came here. I deliberately chose not to read it because I thought it was a lie. But now I might be forced to go back and read it.
What I am saying, what I'm trying to tell you is that his intention was about job creation. Because he was saying once people goes and invest abroad in foreign nations, whatever they do there, whatever they invest there, because if you establish a hotel, how many people will it employ? How much revenue will it create? That was his line.
So is that a green light to corruption?
It isn't a green light to corruption,
what is
but
it?
that was his intention.
Yes,
because
how do you call that?
When the IGG was
Mr.
talking
Transformer,
how
do you call that?
When the IGG was talking about, is it commensurate, something like that? And you know, the president was like, this one scares away those who have money, much money, and they invest abroad. And he was like, you know, they should have an environment.
You must be referring to different scenarios, perhaps.
It is a scenario I'm talking about.
If it's about corruption,
yes,
it was a clear statement.
Yeah, it was that's what he was meant. He was meaning. That's what the
is
president.
That your interpretation?
That's what the.
Is it your own interpretation of what the president meant?
Actually, there are many ways of interpreting
no,
it. There are many,
is that your personal interpretation?
It is my personal interpretation. Okay. But now to the other side, what he was talking about the corrupt officials, especially when he said that those ones shouldn't be scared from investing here, he was looking at how possible, because it's true some have already stolen. You get it, but how do you persuade them?
Can Mr. Museveni's regime, government, fight corruption?
Yes, it can.
Thank you. That's what I want.
Yes.
Thank you.
It can do.
People are watching.
Yes, it can. It can fight corruption.
No, it can't.
Yes, it can fight corruption.
Uncle Chiwa should have your. Uncle Chiwa should have your closing shot.
Okay. Here is my parting shot. The second time I went to prison in Uganda was when I called the National Resistance Movement the National Robbery Movement. Okay. This is way back in 1986, November. Okay. So, but it hasn't only robbed the resources like money. It has also robbed us of our intellectual capacities. And I think one of the worst things NRM has done to us, it has carried out an intellectual genocide. The faculty in Makerere, we used to have people like Sibambi, like Kabwejere. They would, Pankaras Kaboha, they would call you to Makerere and they say they are going to speak. And the whole city would walk to Makerere. Today, there is nothing. Okay? Makerere is a share of what it used to be. So, what we need to ask, we should humbly ask those who are in charge to help return civics to schools. Because the citizens that the country is grooming are worse than what is around, because they have not been exposed to some of these facts. The victims are actually protecting their oppressors, And I hope if there is anything that we need to do in 2023 is to try our level best and save people of Uganda who are now suffering from what they call the Stockholm Syndrome. They have become friends of their very enemy. People, instead of thinking about the nation, they are thinking about petty issues. The government is very petty, but also even in the opposition, you find people fighting to be leader of opposition. The purpose should be struggling to liberate the country and end corruption, end disappearances, end kidnapping, end illegal detention, but they are focused on picking up and harvesting crumbs from the table of the dictator. These things are fundamental. We need to think about Uganda as a country, not as a fiefdom of an individual, and deliver our country from the chokehold of the national robbery movement. I wish you a wonderful 2023, where the struggle for liberating Uganda should be our mantra, whether you are in NRM, whether you are in UPC, JEMA, DP, or you belong to no political party. But wherever you are, your purpose should be to put a brick on building a wall that protects Uganda from the ticks that are sucking it of its blood. And the Banyakore understand the dangers of ticks sucking blood. We better stand up. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Well, that's from Mr. Kiwanuka Lawrence Ssemagulu. I also need to get your parting shot, sir.
First of all, I need, as we conclude this show, I want to encourage Ugandans. One, this is a new year, and there is a lot that is supposed to be done. We thank God we are alive, and we have peace. And when it comes to corruption, which we have been talking about, corruption is a very big disease, because I have at least, I have seen it with my eyes in some areas, departments, whereby you find a corrupt official, an officer enforcing, the officer tasked to arrest or to take action against a corrupt official, but at the same time, you find the same officer, for example, you may have an affected person reporting a case over corruption, and the officer supposed to take action against the corrupt officer needs facilitation from the affected person to go and take action against the corrupt officer. After reaching there, interfacing with the corrupt official, the corrupt, then he's again...
The corrupt will cough something.
No, even not coughing. This one says bring ABCD, if not you are finished. And he's given this. The other one facilitates, this one facilitates. So it keeps a circus, in a circus. At the end of it all, everything is frustrated. And in the local government, there is a lot to be done with the cows and the physical planners in those areas. It is too disgusting, that side. Yes, a lot needs to be done. I think there is a lot of action that needs to be done. Even the enforcing officers, especially, I don't know, the office of the IGG needs to take a serious action. There is a lot that is happening down in the district.
When serious actions are taken, they get frustrated by the president.
No,
the president says, no, don't do that.
No. Go, if you go to the district level, the local council, the local government, there is a lot of corruption which needs to be taken.
Well, thank you so much. I also take the pleasure to thank my panelists for, out of their busy schedules, to be able to be part of tonight's discussion. And then, of course, our viewers, we really thank you for always being part of the conversations here, not only on the Hotline Show, but even the rest of our programmings. Well, this brings us to the end. My name is Abdalla Tiff, and I also want to tell you that there is one good place where you can go and have a decent meal, and that is Spice Island, Bulenga. When you're along Mitiana Road, you could pass by and, of course, grab a slice, a pizza slice, and then you proceed on your journey. Well, this brings us to tonight's edition of the Hotline Show. Until next Monday, my name is Abdalla Tiff. I wish you a great night and Happy New Year.
The Alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.